Hello, everyone, and good morning. I'm really happy to see so many of you here. I'm sorry this talk is not being held in French. Although I speak a bit of French, talking about all of this work is very difficult to context switch. So thank you for bearing with me today. I'll try to go through things slowly. But yeah, today I really wanted to share some practical insights from our journey of launching two really big AI capabilities. One of them is Create with AI, where in Miro you can now create docs, tables, diagrams, slides, and even prototypes from your ideas. And then the second feature that I wanted to talk to you about today is something that we call the canvas is the prompt. And this actually allows you to select content on your Miro canvas or board and use those to prompt AI. My name is Dominique Rolink. Thank you for the introduction. And I'm a product marketing manager here at Miro. And my hope is that whether you're launching AI features now or in the future, that you walk away with some of the strategies that help you prepare and kind of counteract some of the pitfalls that we might have encountered. So today I'd like to start off with a little bit of an intro into what the role of PMM is and the role that we play in the AI go-to-market so that you actually know what my job title means, because I have a feeling that some of us may not know. And then also I wanted to talk about this AI paradox that we are all navigating at this moment, and then the 3 lessons that we've learned from that and the way of launching AI capabilities so that hopefully you can also apply them to your go-to-market motions. So I'd like to start off today with a little bit of an analogy to help you understand what I do. So as I've understood, a lot of you here are PMs. I often refer to the PM as Batman and the PMM as Robin. We have a great collaboration and partnerships where PMs deal with defining the product and primarily work with leadership and their engineering, design, analytic pods. And PMM mostly works with product and then connecting that to the marketing side of the house and the go-to-market side, so sales and customer success. A lot of times, you PMs will be doing both roles in one, and I do not envy you for that. So in Miro, we're very lucky to have that role kind of separated. And this is where PMM crafts positioning, so how we want people to think about our features in their minds and how they want to think about alternatives. We then translate that positioning into messaging, so how do we bring that to life in email campaigns, social, website landing pages. We also work on packaging, so how do we bring these different capabilities together to talk and resonate to different audiences? And then also we define the go-to-market strategy so that we have success kind of both leading up towards the launch and after. And then for AI specifically, I think there's something unique for PMMs to do, which is translating these really complex capabilities into something that's clear for users, where we define the target users and ensure adoption beyond just releasing. Sometimes I think PMMs were only looking at kind of the moment of release, and now we really recognize that that's something that's like ongoing and really continuing. And then really quickly, some of the challenges that we do face as well. The biggest one, I would say, change in scope, whether that's decrease in scope or creep in scope. And so, because we create a lot of the marketing materials beforehand, before you even kind of get to the finish line, if the scope changes, that really kind of has a downstream impact on us. And then, so this brings me to wanting to talk a little bit about this AI paradox that we're navigating. So while we see that AI adoption is growing with roughly 78% of organizations using AI, fewer than 20% of them are actually succeeding to scale them beyond pilots, according to this McKinsey report. And so despite all of this transformative potential, we're also seeing AI fatigue settle in. Users feel overwhelmed by the amount of AI announcements that sound impressive, but don't always connect to their real problems. So this creates this fundamental challenge for us as product marketers is how do we position these powerful AI capabilities in a way that feels approachable rather than overwhelming? And then also, how do we make adoption of AI feel like the natural next step rather than this big leap into the unknown? So today, I indeed wanted to share my journey of what I've learned with launching these two AI capabilities with 3 important lessons to hopefully break through that AI paradox and drive adoption. So those 2 features are indeed what I mentioned before, create with AI and visual context processing, or what we have now called the canvas is the prompt. Both of these capabilities, they are features with incredible technical innovation. But we quickly realized that leading with that technical capability was a mistake. Early research showed that actually users were quite confused by the naming of these things and how it applied to them. They didn't know when or how to use or even why to use these features to begin with, despite their incredible power. So this led us to indeed develop some positioning principles, and that have really changed kind of our approach. The first one I'd like to start out is positioning without overwhelming. So just a quick note on what positioning is. Positioning is deciding who this product is for, what the exact problem it solves for them, and then why it's the best choice compared to alternatives. But you may be asking me, how do I do that? So the first thing I would recommend is starting with a problem. For Create with AI, when we were doing our research, what we understood is that actually one of the biggest struggles that people have in Miro when they have these really big collaborative sessions, so many ideas and sticky notes on the board, the problem then is moving that into kind of a structured output or outcome that they can then share and kind of keep momentum. There's always someone spending a lot of hours translating those meeting moments. So this is how we ultimately ended up shaping kind of the value of Create with AI is addressing the problem that people were having about being able to move from messy ideas to structured outcomes faster. And this every time beat technical descriptions of what the feature actually was. We learned to also explain and show what outcomes to expect from our AI, making it a predictable process, and ultimately having users gain confidence through things like iteration. And this really built kind of trust in the process. And then lastly, our research also showed that you really need to give users agency in the way that you talk about these AI features. So AI assisted beats AI powered. People want to feel like they're collaborating with AI and not that AI is their replacement. We want to have tools that amplify their abilities and not automate the entire journey for them. And so here are some examples of this kind of tech-first messaging versus problem-first messaging. So indeed here you have this multi-format AI generation. This is kind of like a clear descriptor of what Create with AI does, right? You can create multiple formats, it's generative AI, that's not just text, it's all these different formats. But ultimately, this really didn't quite resonate with people, and we really understood that indeed getting from messy ideas to structured outcomes faster was addressing their problems. For Canvas is the prompt, we started to talk about AI that understands the visual hierarchy of the board, right? So Like if you had multiple presentations or your board designed in a certain way, we could really see how you ordered things, and like all the different things that you see, our AI now sees. But ultimately, this wasn't really understood. I think also visual hierarchy is something that's quite technical. And so your canvas becoming the prompt, or even explaining that stickies and dot votes and whatever you had thrown on the board, that becomes the prompt for AI, was a lot easier to understand. Ultimately, I would recommend anchoring in a job to be done, or seeing the problems that you can also see from there. It doesn't always need to be for a specific persona, and that really reduces that cognitive load. These are some examples of that marketing that we then did. It's a little bit small to read here, but I'll try best to share. So we talked about how engineers, PMs, and designers, our kind of core focus personas, could really benefit from our AI. So indeed, for engineering, it's about writing up tech requirements fast, or for PMs, about test driving ideas with prototypes. And then for design, indeed, visualizing their user flows. All of these were kind of examples and kind of helping people tackle the problems that they experience. Here is also an example of marketing that I feel makes AI predictable. So starting at the top, it's really small, but like talking about what Miro AI sees and what they can expect compared to other tools, as well as giving users that confidence that they're able to iterate with AI before sharing with others. So that was like here in this messaging of refine the result until it's just right. The next lesson I want to share with you is around balancing innovation and value. So this comes from that critical insight, also what we talked about with the AI paradox. There seems to be this like gap between innovation and adoption. And one, I think that a little bit starts with engineering excitement does not always translate to user excitement. And I'll show you a bit more of that in a second. But so to address this, what we've learned is to lead with the outcome, not the feature. And the easiest way to do that is actually to show and not tell. So indeed, for this first one, here's an example of not confusing the internal wow with external aha. So this is something that we really struggled with at the beginning of visual context processing. I remember the company was so excited about like the incredible power that this had, and how this would really also help differentiate our capabilities, our AI capabilities compared to other LLMs. But we now know that we actually, to connect it again back to what people are feeling and what their problems are, the biggest problem that people had with using Miro and AI was actually transforming and transferring all of that collaborative context into AI. How do you get your team's dot votes on sticky notes translated into an LLM? So ultimately, we shifted this messaging to being able to use the canvas as the prompt, and this much better aligned to what users were excited about and really a problem that they were dealing with. Prompting still feels like something that's very difficult for people to do. So this really helped address that. And this is also just a little insight for all of you. This never made it out in the real world. But my PM, when he first kind of talked to me about this feature, he shared it with me as format agents in AI. And ultimately, I felt like this really didn't align to the outcome that people could expect to have when using this feature. Agents even kind of give some idea of autonomy, right? So kind of nicely was able to massage the idea of it being called Create with AI and going from idea to outcome faster. And then last, I would recommend to show, not tell. Concrete demonstrations will always outperform abstract messaging. So here on the left for abstract messaging, it's AI that understands the visual hierarchy of your boards, or advanced AI generation, and even the dreaded accelerate with AI. And I really realized that being able to transform those things into very concrete things or demonstrations for your unique persona. So, for example, for engineers, turning messy sketches into clean architecture diagrams. Or for product managers, going from a product requirements document to a early stage prototype in minutes is where the real value was at. The most effective approach, in my opinion, is to lead with demo moments in real workflows. And one of the ways that you can do that easily is both through UGC and EGC, so user-generated content or employee-generated content. And so this is just an example here from Miro where we asked employees to create a short demo video, and this really brought this complex technology to life. And it really lets users see the transformation happening in the context that they recognize. And the last lesson I'd like to share with you is to package for use cases or personas. One of my favorite quotes, especially when thinking about marketing AI or marketing platform capabilities, is that if you build for everyone, you build for no one. And especially in B2B, this really rings true because that one-size-fits-all messaging fails particularly hard. Different teams have really fundamental different challenges, different jobs, workflows that require tailored approaches. So the same feature can be solving different problems for different personas, and you really need to do the work to outline that for them. It's very hard for people to imagine how something is applicable to them if you do not spell it out for them. And so the framework really became around understanding the pain, understanding the position, and transforming that into messaging. And so we really did that to make sure that it resonates with each audience's unique needs. So this is, again, another example of our tooltips in the Miro product being customized by role, showing product managers, engineers, and designers how the same exact feature addresses their specific challenges. And also on the right here, it's a bit small, but we have all of our education material on the Academy. That's also been kind of specialized for different use cases and that we know our users often do. And then so to wrap up, I wanted to leave us with a few core principles that I feel have made the absolute biggest difference. One, position AI as amplification, not automation, at least for end users. Buyers are starting to think a little bit differently about this, but this is really important when we're talking to end users. The second is show, don't tell. I always say that a demo is worth 1,000 slides. I have now been talking to you for the past 20 minutes, and I'm sure you do not know really what these features do. So I would love for to ask you to actually maybe go to the demo booth that Miro has and see a demo so you can see the magic in action. Because indeed, like, I can spend a lot of time talking here and you might not have that same wow or aha moment as you do when you actually see the demo. And then indeed, like I mentioned, package for personas, not for features, so they know how and when to use it. And maybe even fixing that AI paradox adoption problem. And then lastly, make the complex feel simple, not the simple feel complex. Wherever you can, test your messaging. Make sure that you understand that your users are understanding the value. Thank you all for your attention today.